Journey with me back in time to explore art of the Pacific Northwest coast by the indigenous tribes. We will look at the beautiful art of totem poles which dwindled in creation in the early 1900s. The carvings on the poles serve to provide information about ancestors, clan lineage, and notable events. They also served as signs for visitors, mortuary vessels for the deceased ancestors, or a means of public ridicule. The poles exhibited cultural heritage of the native peoples in the islands and coastal areas of North America's Pacific Northwest, especially British Columbia, Canada, and coastal areas of Washington and southeastern Alaska in the United States. The regions which the people lived featured extremes in topography, ranging from wide beaches to deep fjords and snow-capped mountains. The climate near the shore regions was very rainy with temperatures averaging around 55 degrees Fahrenheit. Generally, these temperatures increased in summers up to the 80s at times and 30s during winter months. It was because of the almost constant rain, thick forests grew providing the artists with cypress trees, and the highly rot-resistant trunks of giant cedar or western red cedar to make the totem poles. Because of the region's moist rainy climate, even these woods eventually decayed, leaving few poles carved before 1900. When the weather was nice, trees were selected and prepared, which included hollowing out the center to make the tree easier to transport, and erect upright. The trunks were also cut into sections, so that after the carvings on the totem were completed, the sections could be stacked upon each other as high as 60 feet tall if desired. Tools that were used to carve the totem poles were shells, bones, beaver teeth and rocks. Before the 19th century, the lack of efficient carving tools and leisure time to devote to the carvings resulted in less elaborate poles before iron and steel arrived in the area. The poles were representations of characters and mythological events, but also expressed ancestor experiences and living people. The carvings may have included animals, fish, plants, insects and humans, as well as supernatural beings. These beings were able to transform themselves into other combination forms of life as parts of different animals, or being part human and part animal. Totem poles can either be painted or unpainted. If painted, paints were made from mineral pigments. It has also been reported that totem poles were painted with a type of fish egg tempera, consisting of a mineral pigment mixed with a mordant of fresh salmon eggs and saliva. The colors originally were red, black, and green or blue. The traditional colors used also included yellow. Depending on the size and complexity of the totem pole, the average time to create one was generally 6 to 12 months. Let's enjoy the art of these proud people. As can be seen from the figures, expressions and coloring on the poles, the people who created them were a very proud people of their heritage. An assumption made from other cultures is that the highest figure on the pole is of the highest importance, with the least important on the bottom. In the 1930s, the phrase "lowest man on the totem pole" reflected this way of thinking. Native sources, however, disagree with the linear components, or consider the lowest figure on the pole as the most important, which carries the weight of all the figures resting on its shoulders. It is believed that if at eye level looking into the viewer, there is a heightened significance of the representation. Many poles remained plain and undecorated with the exception of a single figure on top. This is an art that, although exists today, can be challenged that it does not reflect the force once exhibited as a daily lifestyle of the Pacific Northwest people. The poles that were made are generally not well maintained and usually last from 60 to 80 years, with only a few standing longer than 75 years, and even fewer at 100 years. When a pole's wood rots and the pole begins to lean posing a threat, it is destroyed or pushed over and removed. During harsh winter storms that hit the coastline, older poles typically fall over, bringing their time on Earth to an end like everything else. Just as the sun sets, ending a day that cannot be recaptured, so approaches an art form that may diminish into the twilight of time. It will be a sad time when this happens, but even a sadder time when we fail to remember these people and their art.